Johnson had spent 6 proud years in the Air Force, but nothing prepared her for the day her commanding officer tried to strip her of both her uniform and her dignity. "Take off that pilot gear. You don't belong here." Colonel Marcus Whitfield's voice cut through the Langley hangar like a gunshot, drawing the eyes of more than 150 service members. 28-year-old Maya stood perfectly still. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from a quiet, controlled fire. The decorations on her chest suddenly felt like burning metal as whispers rippled through the crowd. She tried to speak. "Colonel, with respect, my mission record—" "Mission record?" Whitfield barked a harsh laugh. "You logged a few hours in a simulator and think that makes you a combat pilot?" "We're talking about a $150 million aircraft, not a toy. This so-called inclusion experiment has gone far enough." The humiliation wasn't new. From the day Maya was transferred to Langley as a showcase new talent, she knew she was being used as a publicity piece. Brad Sullivan, the senator's son and heir to a pharmaceutical empire, set the tone during the very first briefing. "Look, everyone, the quota's here," he'd whispered loudly enough for her to hear. Since then, she'd faced accidental equipment failures, mysteriously lost reports, and denied flight hours. And now, in front of the entire squadron, Whitfield poured salt on every wound. "You people always think the rules don't apply to you," he sneered. "You believe you can take a real pilot's place just because it's politically convenient." Maya closed her eyes, remembering her younger brother's promise before his final classified mission. "When I get back, I'll tell you stories you won't believe." He never returned. Officially, that mission never happened. "I said take off the uniform," Whitfield ordered, voice rising. Phones discreetly came out. Some troops looked away. None stepped forward. Piece by piece, Maya removed the symbols of her service: the Bronze Star for valor, the Air Medal for 25 combat missions, the rare elite pilot badge held by only a few hundred aviators worldwide. Each decoration hit the concrete with a sound like a verdict. Brad Sullivan filmed it all, grinning. "Finally, someone speaks the truth," he muttered. No one noticed the faint smile Maya hid as she touched the last medal, a small, unmarked award handed to her personally by General Morrison after a mission that required presidential authorization. She lingered a heartbeat before setting it down. Folding her uniform neatly, she met Whitfield's eyes with steady calm. "Colonel," she said, voice like steel, "thank you for showing me exactly who you are and reminding me exactly who I am." Her footsteps echoed through the silent hangar as she walked out. Moments later, a message lit up her phone from a number that officially didn't exist. 72 hours to rewrite history. Package delivered. Authorization confirmed. 72 hours. What no one at Langley Air Base realized was that Maya Johnson carried knowledge so classified it barely existed on paper. And when someone with her level of training is humiliated in public, the response comes from altitudes few people ever reach. While the crowd saw only a calm young woman walking out of the hangar, Maya was already setting events in motion that would become a lesson in power no manual had ever described. Within 48 hours, the video of her forced dismissal spread through military chat groups. Brad Sullivan's smug caption, "Diversity pilot finally exposed," fueled the fire. Maya drove her old Honda Civic back to the quiet off-base apartment where she'd enjoyed 2 rare years of peace. To her neighbors, she was simply the quiet veteran who fixed civilian aircraft, a half-truth that kept her passion alive and her real identity hidden. Her mother called in tears. "Honey, I saw the video. How could they treat you like that?" Dorothy Johnson had worked 2 jobs to give her daughter every chance, never knowing the full scope of Maya's secret missions. "It's okay, Mom. This will pass," Maya said gently, even as she watched a black government sedan linger on the corner outside. Some truths were too heavy to share. Back on base, Colonel Whitfield bragged over drinks about putting the program in its place. Brad Sullivan, riding the high of his viral post, created an Instagram group called Real Military Pilots, mocking the empty chair where Maya once sat. They didn't realize every insult, every post, every quiet act of sabotage was already documented, precisely, legally, and in triplicate. Patience, Maya knew, was the most powerful weapon. Thursday night, she met a silver-haired man in a quiet highway diner. General Robert Morrison wasn't in uniform, but the posture gave him away. "I'm sorry, Maya. If I could have stopped this." She raised a hand. "General, you once told me, let the enemy reveal himself before you strike." Whitfield just did. She slid a thick folder across the table. 3 years of evidence. Discrimination, tampered equipment, falsified reports affecting not only her, but 17 other service members. Morrison turned each page, eyes widening. "How did you get all this?" "You trained me," she replied with a small, hard smile. "Always document everything. Always have a plan B. Always stay 3 moves ahead." "What do you need from me?" he asked. "Authorization for a demonstration that shows exactly who I am, something no one can deny or bury, and I want the entire Air Force to see it. Maya, you know this will reveal your missions, your true rank. You'll never live a quiet life again. For 2 years I tried to live normal," she said, leaning forward. "Normal is overrated, especially when people use it to excuse injustice." Morrison nodded slowly, understanding the storm about to break. The countdown to Monday. 48 hours. That was all Maya Johnson needed. Presidential clearance for a technical demonstration had been granted. Officially, a test of new flight protocols. Unofficially, as General Morrison put it with a quiet smile, the end of the careers of everyone who underestimated our ghost. By Friday morning, Brad Sullivan uploaded another mocking TikTok, imitating Maya's calm reply to the Colonel. "With all due respect, Colonel, my performance," before breaking into exaggerated laughter. 50,000 views in 2 hours. From her small apartment, coffee in hand, Maya watched and calmly filled a military notebook. Every view, every cruel comment, every jeer was another brick in her legal case, and more importantly, in her moral resolve. A buzz on her phone, authorization granted. Demonstration, Monday, 0800 hours, Hangar 7, mandatory attendance. Maya allowed herself a thin smile, recalling her first instructor's words 15 years earlier. "When you know you're the best, you don't need to shout, you just fly." Each insult only strengthened a force inside her that her detractors couldn't see. Their contempt was writing their own defeat. While Brad posted more taunts over the weekend, Maya was 400 kilometers away at a facility that didn't exist on any public map. Underground hangars, silent corridors, and the most advanced F-22 Raptor ever built waited for her inspection. "Still certain about this?" Captain Rodriguez asked as she ran her hand across the cold fuselage. "A live broadcast means no going back. Your real identity becomes public." "For 2 years I've played the role of an ordinary mechanic," she said, eyes glinting. "But normal is overrated." What no one at Langley knew, Maya Ghost Johnson wasn't just a skilled pilot. She was the only person cleared to fly experimental aircraft so secret they were dismissed as science fiction. Back at Langley, Colonel Whitfield spent the weekend retelling the story of the token pilot, calling diversity programs a disgrace. Brad doubled down with a new hashtag #RealPilotsOnly, boasting, "Excellence has no color, but incompetence sure does." His post racked up hundreds of likes. They had no idea that every message, every sneer, every meme was being quietly archived by Pentagon legal teams. Maya had learned long ago, patience isn't weakness, it's stored ammunition. Early Monday, a base-wide alert summoned all personnel to Hangar 7 for a mandatory new technology demonstration. Full dress uniform required. Colonel Whitfield scowled at the order. "What demonstration?" No one told me anything. His aide only shrugged. Brad seized the moment to post again. I bet they're bringing in some female pilot for an inclusion stunt. What a circus, 200 likes in under an hour. At 7:45 a.m., Maya pulled her Honda Civic into the Langley parking lot for the last time. On the passenger seat rested a folder containing her real military ID, stamped with missions so classified they kept intelligence officers awake at night. She walked toward Hangar 7, where more than 300 uniformed personnel were already gathered, buzzing with curiosity about the mysterious event about to unfold. The reveal. Colonel Whitfield stood at the front of Hangar 7, irritated that he'd been left out of the loop. Brad Sullivan, phone in hand, was ready to capture another viral clip. "Attention!" a sergeant barked. "Report to General Morrison." Silence fell. Morrison was a legend. 3 wars, 2 presidential commendations, and a reputation for never wasting words. If he was here, something historic was about to happen. "Today," Morrison announced, his voice carrying through the vast hangar, "you will witness an air power demonstration that redefines operational excellence." His gaze found Maya in the crowd for the briefest moment. "Prepare to meet one of the greatest pilots in American military history," Whitfield muttered to a fellow officer. "Probably some old Top Gun ace." Brad zoomed his camera, eager for content. Then the sky itself answered. A piercing, otherworldly roar swept over the base as an F-22 Raptor streaked past at 200 feet, its sleek silhouette slicing the morning air. But it wasn't the aircraft that stole every breath. It was the impossible precision of its flight, rolls so tight they defied physics, gravity-bending turns that looked like choreography. Even seasoned pilots stared upward in stunned silence. "Who's flying that thing?" someone whispered. Maya allowed herself a quiet smile. "Traffic control to Ghost 0, the loudspeakers crackled. "Request permission to land." The Raptor touched down with flawless grace and taxied toward the hangar. The cockpit opened. A pilot removed the helmet, long black hair spilling free. Brad Sullivan's phone slipped from his fingers. "No, that can't be," he stammered. Maya Johnson stepped forward, every footstep echoing in the hush. "My name is Lieutenant Colonel Maya Ghost Johnson. For the past 2 years, I've worked undercover as a mechanic, to see how you treat those you consider beneath you." Her eyes locked on Whitfield's. "The results have been enlightening." General Morrison joined her. "For those unaware," he said, "Lieutenant Colonel Johnson is the only pilot in U.S. history to down 6 enemy aircraft in live combat. She holds 47 decorations, including 2 classified Silver Stars." Color drained from Whitfield's face. "Colonel," Maya continued, gesturing to a screen descending behind her, "over the past 3 months I documented every act of discrimination." Images appeared. Brad Sullivan posting the humiliation video. Screenshots of his mocking messages and hashtags. Whitfield laughing with fellow officers. "And that's only the beginning," Maya said evenly. "You sabotaged the careers of 23 service members, falsified reports, and altered medical records to force a decorated pilot into early retirement." More documents flashed across the screen. Irrefutable evidence. Turning to Brad, she added, "Mr. Sullivan, you created the hashtag #, Real Pilots Only, and uploaded 47 videos mocking women and minorities in uniform. Your posts reached more than 200,000 viewers. The hangar remained frozen in silence, the weight of truth settling over every uniformed figure. 6 months later, a new era. "Congratulations, you've become a public figure." The young man trembled. I was only joking. You weren't serious." Maya's laugh was quiet, almost amused. "I have 200 pages of evidence. Systematic discrimination, a hostile work environment, defamation, misuse of military resources." General Morrison stepped forward, voice crisp. "Colonel Whitfield, you are formally charged with misconduct, discrimination, and falsifying official documents. Your commission is revoked, effective immediately." The hangar erupted in whispers. Whitfield slumped into a chair, his once proud uniform suddenly too large. "Mr. Sullivan," Morrison continued, "you are permanently barred from all military installations. Your posts will be part of a criminal investigation for incitement and harassment. Maya faced the disgraced colonel. 3 days ago, you told me I didn't belong in uniform. Today you learned I'm one of the few pilots cleared to fly aircraft worth more than some state budgets. Turning to the assembled crowd, she added, "To everyone who laughed, filmed, or stayed silent, underestimating someone can be the costliest mistake of your life." Brad Sullivan stepped forward, eyes wet. "Please, my father can fix this." "No," Maya said firmly. "You had months to choose decency. You chose cruelty. Now live with the consequences." Security escorted Whitfield away. The hangar, once filled with arrogance, was now heavy with awe. Half a year later, the same hangar bore a new golden plaque, Lieutenant Colonel Maya, Ghost Johnson Training Center. Maya, now Commander Johnson, led the Military Aviation Excellence Academy, her own creation. Where humiliation had once echoed, diverse cadets now practiced precision maneuvers, their success rate a record-breaking 98%. Half were women and minorities. "Commander," reported Captain Jennifer Martinez, one of the first graduates, "delegations from 23 nations are studying your methods. Your manual, Leadership Beyond Bias, is required reading worldwide." Maya smiled. "Real excellence spreads and lifts others. Privilege only protects itself." Tony Rodriguez, now a colonel, and her deputy approached with a sealed envelope. "The President invites you to command the first military space mission with a fully diverse crew." Maya looked at the framed photos on the wall. One showed the day she had been ordered to remove her uniform as hundreds watched. Next to it hung a new image, the same hangar alive with cadets of every background, united by the standard she had set. "They tried to humiliate me to prove I didn't belong," she told Tony quietly. "But humiliation only works if you accept it. I always knew who I was. They were the ones who needed to learn." Her phone rang. "Mom," she said, answering. Dorothy's voice was warm with pride. "Honey, I just saw you on CNN. My heart almost stopped, with joy." Maya glanced back at the bustling academy. The lesson was complete. Dignity and excellence outlast every prejudice. Legacy. "Do you remember what I always told you?" Dorothy's voice came through the phone, warm and steady. "Never let anyone convince you that you're less than you really are," Maya replied with a smile. "Exactly," her mother said. "And now the whole world knows how great my daughter truly is." That night, a message arrived from a 16-year-old boy in Chicago. "Commander, I watched your story online. My dream is to be a military pilot, but everyone says someone like me can't do it. After seeing what you did, I'm going to try. You changed my life without even meeting me." It was the 100th message like it that week. Maya had become a global symbol of what happens when dignity outlasts prejudice and excellence silences arrogance. She proved that the best revenge isn't retaliation. It's creating something greater than your critics can even imagine. 2 years later, Brad Sullivan tried to enlist as an ordinary soldier, hoping for a fresh start. The recruiter, a black veteran, read his file and said quietly, "We remember you, Sullivan. Character matters." He was turned away. By then, Commander Maya Ghost Johnson's influence stretched across generations. Her academy had trained thousands of pilots from every background, and her leadership manual, Beyond Bias, was required reading around the world. In a graduation address to 200 new aviators, she offered the lesson she had earned. True victory isn't making your enemies pay. True victory is building a world where the next generation never faces the barriers you had to break. If this story of courage and transformation moved you, subscribe for more real stories where excellence rises above prejudice and where the best revenge is simply being impossible to ignore.